Reaper here. Yeah, you're actually seeing my ugly mug on camera. And there's a reason for this. I know, 220 some reviews and I'm finally showing myself on camera. So what makes this one special? Well, this is a plea to all of my viewers. This is a plea to never touch Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. What? Never touch a Sonic game? How can it be bad? Well, it's simple. I've played a lot of games in my lifetime. A lot of bad games, too. This one is easily top 3 material. I mean, come on. I've played a lot of bad games. I mean, look at this. I have all these games. Shaq Fu, Superman 64, Linus Spacehead, Bill and Ted, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I mean, shit. I even have freaking Backyard Wrestlings, but fuck them. But Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 could possibly be worse than all of them. And if anybody tries to get you to play it, smack them upside the head for me, because they're not your friends, obviously. If some random stranger is giving them to you, just push him away, because he's probably on like meth or bath salts or something. He's fucked up. That's obvious. And if a family member gives it to you as a present, just give it back. Tell them to return it. Don't even touch it. If you do have to touch it, use gloves, but make sure you use a strong industrial kind, because it sucks. And if you're just shopping around looking for something new to play and you see it on the store shelves, keep it there. It's there for a reason. I promise. I made a mistake by buying it, and now I'm stuck with it. And I gotta review it. Why? Well, partly because it's Sonic September, so I kind of do need to review one of these. But this one sucks. It fucking blows. As in, there are no words that will describe just how bad this game is. So, it should come as no... What word am I looking for? Because Sonic is even right in my brain right now. But it should come as no surprise that there's going to be a lot of coughing. Yeah, I coughed a lot too when I was screaming loudly at the game. But there's going to be a lot of cursing. So if there's little ears, you may want to kind of escort them away. Or at least put headphones on or something. Because let's just say the depths of hell are probably going to be coming out of my mouth. So let's get on with the official review, shall we? Sonic September. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Fuck. You know this review is going to be special when I come on camera face to, well, your monitor to tell you never to touch it. I'm going to say this disclaimer one last time. There will most probably be some fairly touchy language that gets put forth from my vocal cords. So if you're sensitive to that kind of shit, beware. You've been warned. And here we are, week number 3 for Sonic September 2016. Strangely enough, it's been 10 years since this mound of turdiness was released for PS3 and Xbox 360. So far, I've reviewed 2 somewhat decent games, but this one easily takes the cake for one of the absolute worst games I've ever played. And it's possibly even the worst for this decade. Let's elaborate a bit with some of the games I've played and reviewed. Sure, E.T. blew, but that was in a time when it was common for a single person to create a game on his or her lonesome. The NES Home Alone games sucked, but it was, for some reason, unusual to have a really good movie licensed game. I haven't reviewed Shaq Fu or Superman 64, but we all know they suck due to control issues and just an overall lack of fun. And as of late, the Backyard Wrestling games suffer from bad controls, lack of camera control, and again, just not being any fun. You'll find out that Sonic the Hedgehog, hereby referred to as Sonic 2006 to help identify it from its older, classic, and excellent starting game, is a culmination of all of that. Bad controls, bad camera, lack of fun, and even more fucking shit that helps to show how much this game fucking blows. Honestly, I don't even know where to start. There's just so much I want to talk about. I guess the story would be as good of a spot to begin as any. So there's some sort of festival of flames that's taking place in a town called Soliana, where some princess is waving to the fans. Robotnik comes out of fucking nowhere and says, "Nope, princess is coming with me." Oh, sorry, it's not Robotnik, it's Eggman. I always thought that was a stupid ass name. Eggman is practically making fun of himself. He should have just stuck with Robotnik. It sounds better. And as for taking a princess, what happened here, Sega? Playing too much freaking Mario and decided to just borrow the storyline of practically every fucking Mario game? Anyway, this abduction occurs, and now Sonic heads off to figure out where Eggman is going. In the meanwhile, some Silver Hedgehog, given the fucking genius name of Silver, looks at Sonic with malicious intent. After some time, Sonic meets up with Silver, and they battle. Silver has telekinetic powers, which could be a fairly cool feature if done right. More on that later. Anyway, after Sonic beats his ass, Silver becomes a playable character, and you can see Silver's side of the story. Sonic keeps going and eventually meets up with Shadow. He's the third playable character, and his plot focuses more on finding a relic named the Scepter of Darkness, or Book of Darkness, depending on which cutscene you're currently watching. Fuckers who made the game can't even make up their damn minds. All the stories eventually converge into one final chapter, which I've not played myself, for reasons I'll explain later. In short, I never finished the game, because, you know what? Fuck that. Why am I saying fuck that? Oh, I'll tell you why when I explain the part of the game where I hit my breaking point. So, Sonic 2006 is broken up into 3 different chapters, each one spearheaded by a different main character, whether it be Sonic, Silver, or Shadow. Ha! They all start with S. Fucking clever. Sonic's chapters focus primarily on speed over everything else. Silver's stages deal with his psychic abilities, and are typically a bit slower paced than Sonic or Shadow. And speaking of Shadow, his levels are a bit more combat focused, showing off his lame-ass vehicle sections and Shadow's martial arts training. Sonic's story is the only one that's available at the beginning of the game, but once you progress through his story, you can eventually unlock Silver and then a few levels later Shadow. Once a character is unlocked, you can play their levels whenever you like. You can jump around as you wish with no penalty. If you want to play through Silver's levels, then Shadow's, then go back and finish up Sonic's, you may do so. Some cutscenes are repeated throughout each character's campaign to help make the story make a little bit of sense, so you may feel a bit of deja vu. I'm going to talk about each character next, and why each one sucks. Yes, including Sonic. So the blue furball is the starter, as to be expected. You start the game in the town of Soliana, which happens to be the main hub world. You can talk to people denoted by the colored exclamation marks over their heads. I know, real fucking creative. It's like I'm playing a shitty RPG that couldn't be bothered to give these characters any sort of real fucking speech. When you speak to an NPC, they make a grunt and then just show a little bit of text. I don't want to read text unless it deals with the game directly, or if I actually am playing an RPG. Then I don't mind. But in the age that this game was created in, text without speech seems a bit 90s, even in RPGs. So in this age, this is just a real bizarre choice. It could have something to do with the fact that the game was rushed, which in my honest opinion is no reason to have a game suck so fucking badly. Anyway, these NPCs have 3 different colors above their heads. I don't know what the difference between the yellow and the orange ones are, although the yellow ones seem to be a bit more useful in regards to helping you out. There are also blue characters that can give you a small mini-quest. These quests aren't always necessary to continue, but sometimes they are. But let me drone on about these for a short time, because I actually have a lot to say about these bullshit mini-missions. Sometimes, these blue guys will be required to continue. I already mentioned that. But let me give you an example. In the very first part of the game, Sonic has to go through one to obtain special shoes. Ooh. It also gives you bonus rings, which act as a lackluster currency of the game. But here's how it works. You talk to one of these quest givers, and choose whether you want to accept the mission or not. Unless you feel like it's a mission that you absolutely need to complete in order to proceed with that character's story, just do yourself a favor and tell the NPC to fuck off. But why is that, Reaper, I hear you asking? Or, okay, so I don't really hear you asking it, but you get the point. Anyway, once you choose to accept the quest, you have to go through about 15 to 20 second loading screen. Once this completes, you get a line or two of text from the quest giver summing up what they want you to do. And most of the times, it's the exact same thing they told you before you hit yes. After this, another 15 to 20 seconds of loading. You heard that right. You have to go through 2 separate, lengthy loading screens for a single mission that can last anywhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes. Once you're successful, or if you fail, it doesn't matter, there's another loading screen to show your rankings. Then one final loading screen to kick you back into the hub world. That's a hell of a lot of loading for fucking text boxes and a simple mission that lasts shorter than the time it would take you to run to your bathroom and piss. Why can't the game just load the mission, introduction, and even the fucking ranking in the same time? Why does it need to be 3 different fucking segments? Why am I fucking cursing so much? Because this is Sonic the motherfucking Hedgehog 2006 and it fucking blows. Oh, and if you fail the mission, you gotta load back to the main hub and redo this whole damn process! So what else do you do in these hub locations? Other than exploring for the optional and useless silver medals, just talking to NPCs, buying upgrades, and finding stages or more cutscenes. Thankfully, if you fall in the water, which counts as an immediate death, you don't lose a life. Let me talk about the ringed currency though. By clearing stages with rings and getting the bonuses that you're ranking awards, you can find one of the few shopkeeps and purchase items. Some are required to continue, but others aren't. Just do yourself a favor and buy them, because there shouldn't be any time where you don't have enough rings to do so. And the bonuses that they bring, although not necessarily required, will probably help you. Or not, like Shadow's Chaos Boost, which boosts his attack strength temporarily. Did I ever use it? Nope. But it was there. I guess you really don't need some of the upgrades, but you know what? Just buy them anyway. It's not like you're going to waste your rings on anything else in this game. And there will be times when you have no fucking clue on where you're going. You do have a mini-map in the top right corner of the screen, which comes in handy to know your general area. But what about when you want to see how to get to a specific area that's not in that mini-map zone? Just go ahead and pull up the map. Simple fix. Oh, that's right, this is Sonic 2006, and there is no fucking map. The only map you see is on one of the millions of loading screens that you'll encounter. What's funny is that I once saw a loading screen say, "Lost? Pull up a map." Yet you can't fucking do that. I've tried literally every button on the PS3 controller, so unless there's a hidden button somewhere that no one but fucking Sonic Team knows about, there's no way to pull up this map. Unless you just want to do a mission so you can load it. So let's see. I touched on the NPCs, mini missions, shops, and the hub in general. So I guess I can finally move on to the actual stages. We'll start with Sonic, as I thought I'd been doing before I started ranting about the mini quests. Anyway, each stage is done in a 3D perspective. Whereas Sonic Unleashed used both 2D and 3D to convey the Sonic portions of the game, this time around everything is in 3D, and just plain awful. I always felt that the 3D portions could be fun if done right. Sonic Unleashed was somewhat close, but it was mainly the 2D parts that really saved the Sun Sonic areas. But everything done in Sonic 2006 was just done wrongly. You notice that right from the hub area, that the camera controls are just off. You can use the right analog stick to move the camera, which is nice, but just feels reversed from most other games. So instead, you can use R2 and L2 to rotate the camera, but it's all done so slowly that by the time you get the camera where you want it, many times where you need to look has either passed or you already died because you lost track of where you were supposed to go. In addition, controlling Sonic is truly a trying affair. Gone is the somewhat smooth yet slippery controls that you got used to from previous games. Here, Sonic feels like he's running on butter with bowling shoes. You ever try it? Well, neither have I, but I can imagine I'd be falling down a hell of a lot. Which, coincidentally, I did with Sonic too. But anyway, speeding around with such slippery controls is just plain bad. Many times you'll just miss items and rings because you just can't maneuver Sonic to where you want him to be. And small platforms? Hope you like falling to your death, because Sonic 2006 just doesn't give you enough room to run on, and it's way too easy to accidentally fall off, let alone trying to jump from rail to rail. And for the speed boosts, you need to hit them perfectly. Otherwise, chances are you'll just miss them. And it needs to be said that even if you hit these speed ramps, if there's rings in your path, you probably missed them. The idiots at Sonic Team never lined up the rings with the ramps, making the rings nothing more than decorations. Unless, of course, you decide to bypass the speed boost by jumping over it and then collecting the rings. But then what's the point of the speed boost even being there in the first place? Oh, and there's even the fact that the boost ramps don't always work the way they should. You know how in many other 3D Sonic games, when you hit a ramp before a treacherous area where Sonic isn't running on the floor but perhaps water, walls, or even the ceiling, the ramp gives you enough speed so you can just sit back and watch Sonic navigate these areas? No such luck this time around. Let's look at this area. It's engulfed in lava, and Sonic is trying to get through. You've seen it in countless other games, Sonic's included. I mean, for shit's sake, the second level in the very first Sonic the Hedgehog game was a lava-filled zone. So these guys should know how to work this. But let's see, we hit this speed ramp here, start running, and then fall abruptly in the lava. Wait, what the fuck? Did Sonic get self-aware and realize he's in a pile of dung piled higher than from here to the fucking moon? I mean, that's the only reason why he would suddenly stop in the middle of a full-on fucking sprint and fall to his death in fucking lava. Before I list more of the godforsaken bugs and glitches I found, let me move on to Shadow, because I'm done talking about Sonic. Shadow brings combat and vehicles to the mix, and runs a bit slower than Sonic. Many times the vehicles are optional, as are the enemy encounters,
but sometimes you'll need to defeat them and proceed on. You can hop into a vehicle by pressing the triangle button, and eject the same way. When in a vehicle, Shadow doesn't take any damage personally, so all harm goes to the vehicle's life meter. All vehicles have infinite ammo, and just need to reload, which is done automatically when you're not firing for a certain period of time. Some of the vehicles are okay, but the hang glider areas are just fucking boring. You just spam the R1 button. Maybe it was the X button, I can't freaking remember. To shoot anything that moves. Sometimes you may need to move the glider to avoid colliding with an object, but I will say that these sections are incredibly easy, and dying actually takes more effort than actually playing this damn game. But as for the land vehicles, don't bother trying to pick up power-ups. You have to hit them at exactly the right spot for them to actually be obtained. I had to run over a ring about 20 times before I finally picked it up. And as you can see, the vehicle is fucking clipping the damn ring. The power-up monitors are just as bad, if not worse. How can this simple thing be fucked up, when the character, when running on foot, can just run into a monitor to obtain what's inside? Overall, these vehicle sections are just plain boring. Half the time, I didn't even use the vehicles, I just ran on foot, saying fuck it all. But when on foot, Shadow is a bit more fun, if not repetitive. He has the same homing attack that Sonic does, except that by pressing X a few times after connecting with an enemy, he'll start throwing an attack combo, doing a lot more damage than the initial hit. It'll be useful, but at the same time, it can be harmful, because if you kill an enemy that's holding or nearby a hazard, when Shadow stops or finishes his combo, that hazard may hit him, causing him damage. This is most noticeable in the final boss battle in Shadow's campaign, against Mephiles, a Shadow doppelganger. He eventually splits himself up into a few hulking beasts, and then when you destroy them, sometimes Shadow's placement is too close to the beast's body, causing him damage. And that's not even the hardest part. For the final hit, Shadow has to hit his way up a spiraling staircase of shadows, eventually reaching Mephiles at the top. This isn't really challenging in the right way, due to the fact that Shadow doesn't hop up after the end of the combo, and the fact that the camera is centered at Mephiles. Shadow can't necessarily see where he's going, making the task of climbing this tower much more frustrating than it needs to be. It's not a hard battle, it's just infuriating because of the camera and the controls. And now on to Silver, our new guy with psychic power. He runs much slower than Sonic and Shadow, but can attack at a much longer range due to the fact that he can pick up and throw random objects that may be lying around. Silver can also glide through the air, which will be necessary to cross longer chasms that can't simply be jumped over. You need to get really proficient at the ranged attacking, because there's a mini mission that you need to complete where he throws objects at targets strewn across Soliana, and the time limit doesn't give you a lot of leeway. Perhaps the worst part of Silver's campaign is a slowdown you'll find, and I don't mean running or even action speeds. I mean literal game slowdown. Sonic and Shadow both have their share, it's true, but Silver's campaign is marred by the most god-awful slowdown I have ever seen in a modern game. Come to think of it, I don't remember any other modern next-gen console games having slowdown. This really astonishes me to think that a game made for PS3 and Xbox fucking 360 has fucking slowdown problems. I thought we fixed those issues back in the 8 and 16-bit days. For fuck's sake, slowdown on a PS3? It still blows my fucking mind! And I mentioned earlier about a breaking point that made me stop playing this garbage. Well, coincidentally, it wasn't the horrific slowdown. It wasn't the slow pace or the lack of direction in the jungle level. It was mini golf. You heard me right. Fucking mini golf. In the pyramid level, Silver is pushing around massive balls into a giant hole. It's as dirty as it sounds, because this game is dirty as fuck. And I don't mean it in a perverted way. I mean, it's dirty as in a Blu-ray disc covered in the fecal matter of every fucking creature on God's green earth. In any case, the initial room isn't so bad. But then I'm assuming near the end of the level, you get one ball. And you need to push it to the end of the hallway, which happens to have a bunch of shit in the way. It's almost like a literal interpretation of a Robin Williams thing of golf. You have large respawning boxes in the way. You have a 90-degree angle with a curved dirt pile. You have the holes that are the incorrect ones to throw the ball in. And you know what? I can deal with all of this. I am a horrible mini-golf player in real life, but I do enjoy it. This wouldn't be so bad. It's the fact that the ball has a timer. You have 9 chances to push this ball. Again, I can work with this. But no. Sonic 2006 decides to fuck with you even harder by making this counter sometimes deplete on its own volition. Once I thought I accidentally pushed it, and then touched it again as it started rolling, so I counted that as my own damn fault. But near the end of the hallway, the ball smacked the box, decreased the number, and then decreased another fucking number for no fucking reason! It was at this point that I told Johnny, my somewhat official QA guy, that this game fucking sucked and then I quit. I immediately popped out the game, threw it in the case, and threw it on my back shelf. I have no intent of going back either. And for the record, Johnny is probably drunk as shit right now. He told me he was going to use this game as a drinking game, and that every time I cursed, he'd drink. Yeah, he's probably really fucked up right now. So, yeah. That's why I stopped playing. You'd probably assume this review is done by now. But, aw, hell no, I'm not done yet. I still have all the bugs, the glitches, and the other oddities that I still want to talk about. I won't go in full detail for all of them, but I at least want to mention what I encountered in this sheet heap. And for the record, I only finished Shadow's campaign. Sonic's training level fucked me over, and for Silver, fuck those balls! So here we go, right down my notes list. And for the record, this is the first time I ever used 2 pages for a game for all my notes. Hope you're sitting down and strapped in, because this is going to get bad. For one, the voiceovers of characters don't always match their lips. This can be a common thing when games are translated, but you know what, I don't think that's the case here. It's most noticeable with Tails, but it does happen with a few other characters as well. It's just strange. The partner AI is just as bad as Tails' AI used to be in the old school Sonic games. Tails jumps on his own, and often to his death. At least he respawns just to die again. You'll be hearing the agony in their deaths a lot. Rouge and Shadow segments are just as bad, if not worse, because her voice acting is hit or miss, but mostly leaning on the miss side. I mean, just listen to her death scream. Fucking hell! Next is the clipping, or lack of it. Sonic has a few quick areas where he's running with no brakes and you just have to go on reflexes to avoid obstacles. Easier said than done, yet he can run right through a few. And when he bounces off of a ramp and needs to jump off of walls, he doesn't even touch the fucking wall. I mean, look at this. How hard would it have been to draw a wider wall to fix this? Sonic's battle against Silver almost made me quit right there, and it happens early. Although I'm glad I did stick with it a little bit so I can rant a bit more about this stupid game, this battle was bullshit! Those rings in the center when you start are a fucking decoy. Don't go for them, because if you do, Silver will meet you there and then just throw you around. If you get anywhere close to Silver, the battle is practically over, because he'll just throw you around, and before you have the chance to react after getting hurt, he'll just fling you around again, typically causing a loss of life. There's no way you can counter his throw, and the only way you can harm him is to run around the arena and listen to his phrases. If he says something and you're still moving, you better get your ass over there and smack him. When fighting him with Shadow, your slide is a better attack than the homing attack, because he will often counterattack you before you even touch the ground, making any damage you've given him null and void since your life counter will be depleted by a number. Oh, and here's a good one. I'm about to compare Sonic 2006 to Mega Man 2. How the fuck am I going to do that, I hear you asking? Well, just listen to this. This is the side mission music you can hear in Sonic 2006. And here's Flashman's theme from Mega Man 2. Is it me, or is this really fucking similar? Did they borrow it for the game? I guess they pick a good game to mimic the song from, but really? Moving on. In Sonic's White Acropolis stage, I fell straight through the wall of mountain. Enough said. And as for the snowboarding, fuck me, these controls are even worse than the running controls. Trying to accurately move between obstacles are a real pain in the ass, because when trying to turn, momentum is decided to be shut off, and Sonic just grinds to a halt, adjusting direction in a mind-numbingly slow manner. Same happens with the Crisis City Zone and the snowboarding there. I just don't see how these controls can be so fucking broken. And speaking of Crisis City, the stages just end abruptly. You can be running at full speed, see a ramp ahead, and then nope! Loading! On occasion, you'll be running through a stage and see a tip, denoted by a question mark and a bunch of colorful circles. Fine. You know what? Tips are nice. But not when they're an inch from the thing you need them for. Take, for example, the stage where you're running with Elise out of fucking Eggman's captivity. You don't realize that you can press R1 to bring up a shield protecting Sonic and Elise. Elise being the princess, because I realized I never mentioned her fucking name. The game tells you about a split second before you hurl off into a sandy area, which happens to make Sonic sink to his death. Here, that tip is telling you to press R1 to bring up the shield, because somehow that makes these fuckers float. Why don't you tell me this in the beginning of the fucking stage, instead of a fucking second before I need to use it? And this isn't the only time either, but the only one I really remember being so freaking frustrating. In a cutscene, the characters are reading a newspaper and the name of the main fucking town is misspelled. Instead of Soriana, it's Sor-Anna with a 1 N. How can you fuck this up? You're given the name of the town on the countless loading screens. God knows you see enough of them. In the few times that you need to press square to slide, you need to remember that you can't cancel out this slide. You need to let the whole animation play out before being able to do anything else, jumping included. In the first stage of Silver's campaign, there's a broken spring. At least that's the only way I can describe it. You bounce off of it and that propels you upwards, but not quite far enough. And if you don't take action, you could potentially fall to your death. Bullshit! You know, I forgot to mention that at times you can control your supporting cast, whether it be Tails, Knuckles, Blaze, Rouge, or Amy. Each has their own abilities. Knuckles can glide, but irritatingly cannot harm anyone when doing so, which goes against everything I'm used to from prior games. Tails can fly for a limited time, but it's a shame that the meter on the bottom left doesn't show this. In fact, this meter is primarily used for Shadow's Chaos Boost and Silver's psychic abilities, but it still feels underutilized. The best character of all is actually Blaze, and dare I say that the lone stage I played with her felt fun? What? A fun part in this game? Well, Blaze runs fast, with the homing attack and special jump boost, and I didn't encounter any slowdown or game-breaking bugs. It actually felt like I was playing a, I don't know, good Sonic game? Holy shit, there's a positive point in Sonic 2006. But we're not going to dwell on the positive points, because there aren't very many of them. We're going to go back to the fucked up shit. When I was playing as Rouge, or even Knuckles, I couldn't jump off of pillars. Both characters can glide on the walls and then climb them, but it's unusually difficult to leap off of them. I was mashing the jump button into oblivion and they refused to release the grip. I don't understand why this is so freaking hard to do. Just let me go. In the Imbalist boss battle, when damaging the creature, Sonic and Shadow were sprung up to absurd heights. I mean, really, what's the point? I could see if the level's environment was appealing to your eyes, but it's just a shit ton of lava. It's like brown and red. Who cares? That's it. So really, what's the point of getting bounced up a mile into the air, falling down onto a fucking spring, and then bouncing another fucking mile back onto the playfield? There's no reason that could possibly be logical. In Shadow's Radical Train level, he just fell right through the springs. Yeah, fell through. Again, enough said. And finally, why is Elise's skin different colors? At first, her legs are a darker shade of her skin, so I assumed that she was wearing stockings or something. That would at least be logical. But in later cutscenes, her fucking head is a different shade. What the hell? Did she get sunburn? Did she take off those stockings and wear them on her head to disguise herself? Is she gonna burgle the fucking hell Eggman's house? I just don't get this fucking game. One final note. Each character's stages are extremely similar to each other. The level you play with Sonic will resemble Shadow's stage, and vice versa. The only one that's usually a bit different is Silver, since he can't run as fast and worries too much about throwing shit around. This design choice just makes the game feel even less interesting. And that's all I got for Sonic the Hedgehog on PS3. Overall, it's a nearly unplayable mess of a game that really shouldn't have been released. But unfortunately, Sega wanted to rush it out the door, and Sonic's reputation takes a huge hit for it. I don't care. If a game isn't finished, don't release it. Wait a few months or so, because then us gamers are going to fucking enjoy the game and say that the wait was worth it. Pull out a rushed piece of shit like Sonic 2006, and the gamers will be a bit more concerned about a publisher or developer, remembering all of the negative shit over the positive. So let this game be an example of releasing bad shit that will follow you around like a fucking atomic gas cloud. So I'm going to sum up Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 with the following sentence. Fuck Fuck this fucking piece of fucking shit game that fucking blows monkey fucking balls until it fucking explodes into a bunch of fucking shreds of fucking plastic. Final score? 2 out of 10. There's Reaper. Happy fucking fragging.